Hi everyone, welcome to the last chapter of Economic Survey. So yes, we are done with the entire series and today is the last chapter, and I hope whatever we have done till now, that is crystal clear to each and every person here. The doubts of the person, they have specifically mentioned the comment boxes also, and I have specifically created those doubts also. And whatever, still if you have any of the doubts, still you can ask me in this at the last of this particular video also. So right in this particular session, in this particular chapter, which is chapter 13th, we are going to see about the skills. Basically, we are talking about the AI era in the labor. AI era in the labor. So everyone knows we are here going to talk about artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is what? It is future. It is a future skill. Whenever our ministers, whenever our government collaborates with another individuals, or whatever you can say that whenever there are discussions that goes on, we continuously focus on technology, digitalization, your Internet of Things, your quantum computing, the manufacturing that is going on, and specifically your AI. These are the future skills. And we all know that we are rich in demographic dividend. And we all know this thing also, that the youth that we have, they are lacking in what? They are lacking in skills. And that is the responsibility of the government also, to fulfill the gap between whatever we are getting, whatever knowledge we are getting from the institutes, and whatever industries are demanding from us. There is a huge gap between it, and this is the responsibility of the government itself, that it has to fulfill the gap so that we can potentially we can make a potential use of the potential demographic dividend that we have. Because it is assumed that when India will also become a developed country, we'll lose this demographic dividend in which we are rich in. So when we are rich in this particular resource, it becomes our responsibility also to make judicious use of this resource. So yes, we'll see that what is the impact of AI on labor, how we can see it in the future, and what developments we need to make to bring, or you can say to bring judicious use of the resources, specifically talking about the demographic dividend that we have. Now, before I jump onto this chapter, we all know that whenever there is I would say structural change in the economy, digitalization in the economy, it comes along with pros as well as cons also. Now, when there was a time of industrial revolution, there were a lot many consequences of it. It was of course a big step. It was of course a positive step. But along with that, there came a lot many cons also. So whenever there is an improvement, or I would say whenever there is a change in an economy, it comes along with pros as well as cons. So similar is the situation with AI also. It has of course positive impact on the labor, but similarly it has negative impact on the labor also. Now we are all we have all heard about this a lot, that since there is an advent of AI, there's a lot of fire that is going on in the industries. That is what? That AI, or I would say robotics, will take place of humans. Now when there was a need, or if I specifically talk about any of the particular work, there was a need of human being, there was a need of human asset. But now AI is very well sufficient in doing that work. So humans are just fired from that particular role because AI has taken over that role. Now this is one of the consequences, I would say, one of the cons of particular AI. Now this is a technology, this is a shift in the technology, this is called a structural change. But of course it comes along with the cons also, it comes with the pros also. Of course, now when I talk about the industrial revolution, and specifically if I talk about we say that there is a lot of gap between have and have nots. There is I would say the resource distribution is just not equitable in manner. One particular society has a lot of resource and another is not having. Now that is because of what? That is one of the consequences of structural change in an economy. Now when I talk about the industrial revolution, there was an advent of the machinery. Now prior to that, labor was just doing what? Labor was just doing the practical work, as in the labor work only. But then there was an advent of machines. Now that was also necessary to increase the productivity, of an economy, because it will contribute high in the numbers. So that was also important. But there were few people who did not learn future skills, who did not learn about machines. So they lagged behind. And those who learned skills, they rose their skills also, and they rose their income also. And that is one of the factors which led to increase in the gap between have and have nots. This is what is specifically mentioned in your survey also. If you read this particular chapter, you will see all of these things what I'm trying to dictate to you. So whenever there is a change in an economy, it comes along with two things. One is pros, another one is cons. So of course, we see a lot of displacement effect here, but if it comes along with the pros also. So one by one, we'll see that what is exact about AI, how it can be a future skill, what all do we need to adopt it, and in what sectors it will highly impact. So I've already told you the name of the chapter is Labor in AI Era, Crisis or Catalyst. So you can see the you can say the definition by itself, that it is trying to tell us that is it a future skill for us, or is it a kind of crisis for our labor economy, or I would say for our general economy as well. So now you can see that I've already told you that AI is acting as a double-edged sword. Now this is the case with each and everything. Whenever there is a change in a structural transformation that is there in an economy, it of course comes with a double-edged sword. We cannot just expect that it will always put positive impact in each and everything. Of course, whenever there is a change, it comes along with pros as well as cons also. So you can see here that it presents the unprecedented opportunities in the productivity as well as innovation. Of course, AI is I would say next gen technology. It can do anything in just seconds only. But all you need to do is to give it a proper prompt so that it can work correctly. That is one thing, because it has been seen a lot many times that whatever has been created by AI, somewhere or another it lags behind in the correctiveness. So that is what it is saying. But it is of course it is also coming a lot with the productivity as well as the innovation also. So if we want to increase the growth, if we want to increase the productivity, this is next step of machinery as well as your digitalization. Next we have is that challenges. Now it also possesses challenges to jobs, especially to low skill as well as routine work. So this is the thing which I've already told you, that those who do not learn the skills will lag behind, but those who goes with the future will earn a lot. Earn as in I'm specifically talking about skills also and your money also. So this is what is seen every time. This is what is seen in every time, that when I gave an example of industrial revolution. So when there was change at that particular period of time, this was a thing which was seen at that period of time also. But now whenever there is a change, it comes with these many things which have been specifically mentioned, in which it has been mentioned that it comes along with a double-edged sword. Now we'll see about the unique opportunities that we have. So I've already told you that we have demographic dividend and we have diverse economy also. Okay, we have diverse economy also, and it is equivalent to what? It is equivalent to strong potential to lead in AI integration. So we are expecting, the government is expecting, and many other nations is also expecting, that India has a potential to lead in AI. But all we need to do is to make our young generation learn about it, to make our young generation tell that this is the future, and if you learn it practically, if you learn it in a very decent way, it can bring you many opportunities tomorrow. If you learn any of the skills, of course you can just bring your skills in any of the nations and any of the platforms also. Now next it says that realizing this requires proactive skilling, education, institutional readiness also. So these are the many things which we need to adopt just to make ourselves AI ready. Now along with that, it comes with the challenges also. So there are concerns about inefficiencies, about lack of infrastructure that we have. Of course we have lack in infrastructure. That is the reason that even though we are rich in demographic dividend, still we are not able to make it happen. As in, I'm specifically talking about the skills that youth has to learn. So we are rich in demographic, but people are still lacking in skills. Why? Because whatever institutes are providing to us, they are just providing us theoretical knowledge. But whatever industry demands from us, so that is entirely your practical knowledge which is demanded. So you can see by yourself here that there is a huge gap in between. And also you will see in the news itself that government now is coming up with a lot many, schemes by itself. For example, we have PM internship scheme also, which is proven to be best, as in that the government wants to make youth ready, especially your fresh graduates. Now the government wants, youth to learn skills, to give internship to the people so that they can become what? They can become job ready. But still, somewhere or another, we are lacking in a lot of infrastructure that needs to take place, and this has to be, this will be done by the government side only. So you can see that there are concerns about the reliability, we have inefficiencies, as well as we are lacking in the infrastructure, and we need to fulfill the gap. Now, what is the role of institutions here? What do you think? What can be the role of institutions? Of course, we need inclusiveness. By enabling that, we can, expect that people will come, people will be attracted tomorrow by this particular, structural change that we have in an economy. So you can see here that there is a need for inclusive, enabling, ensuring, as well as stewarding institutions to manage the transition. Now, these act as a social safety network, social safety nets. Similarly, it will support the adaptability also, because now when I talk about another example, let's talk about EVs. So when we were, when we are, continuously relying on what? We are continuously relying on, our traditional vehicles that we are using, that is, that is run by petrol or diesel basically. Now you could have seen the news itself that, Delhi government has strictly, told to the people that, we are banning the the use of the petrol as well as, diesel cars or, two vehicles also. Now, from a particular date that is, specifically mentioned in the news, only two-wheeler EVs will be seen on the roads. So they're putting stress, strictly ban on the use of petrol cars or, your two wheels vehicle. So that is because of what? Because the atmosphere, I would say, the air quality is at its worst. And now to protect the individuals, specifically your elder people, as well as, your children's, it is important to take these many steps. So this is a kind of change that is happening. But a lot of people will suffer here, because where will their traditional vehicles go? No one will purchase them now, because now we are moving towards the EVs. And this was adopted way then back in the early 20s, in which we saw that, government has specifically talked about EVs. We got to know that there is a concept called EVs also. And now we are in 2025, where we are, we are watching this thing, that we are watching towards the, infrastructure development also towards EV. And similarly, lot of people have adopted, the use of EVs also. So it takes a lot many time to adapt the changes, the structural changes that we have in an economy. So accordingly, AI bhi kya lega? AI bhi will take its time, and we will see that a lot many things will take place. Now, a collaboration is the key. So the survey says that if we work together, if policymakers, private sector, academia, they work together, they can bring a lot of effectiveness as well as efficiency also. Now we need to ensure what? 2-3 things here. One is inclusiveness, sustainable innovation also. And now it is essential for the long-term success. So it is said that we need to adopt a lot many things just to ensure that we have success tomorrow. Now we will talk about the conclusion itself. So the conclusion says that with the right strategy, AI can be catalyst and not the crisis. The definition by itself, that we need to adopt a right situation, we need to adopt a right strategy to make it work in the coming future, to make it go in a one go only. We cannot just make it a crisis when we are hoping with the proper demographic dividend, we are hoping that it can become what? It can become catalyst. Now you have India. So it is said that India has a chance to lead to an equitable AI-powered transformation. This is what it is said. Okay. Now we'll talk about revolution as well as ripples, labor in the AI age. So you can see by the situation itself that IMF as well as your ILO has warned of a massive job displacement, especially your emerging market and developed economies. This is what is specifically mentioned here. Okay. So IMF as well as your ILO is also warning a situation that just because of the advent of AI, we can see a lot of displacement. And that is the reason we need to make our people learn about these many skills, because this is the future only. And if you don't learn these many skills, you will have to face the displacement effect. Now AI could fully automate 75 million jobs globally. This is what has been mentioned here. Now high wage jobs in advanced economies also at risk. Example, your 45% of top quartile US jobs are AI exposed. Now specifically talking about your Goldman, so it is assuming that 300 million full-time jobs are at risk globally. And similarly, when I talk about McKinsey, so it is also assuming that by 2030, 30% of the work hours could be automated in EU as well as US also. So these are the many anxieties that we are facing today. Similarly, when I talk about India's AI movement with the risks that are attached to it, so you can see here that India has a specific findings which is said, which specifically says that 68% of employees believe that their job could be partially or fully automated within the 5 years. Now specifically talking about AI skill jobs, so in India it offers 13 से लेके 17% तक premium, creating a skills divide. Similarly, when I talk about the RBI study, so it is also assuming that leading banks are already deploying AI. So you can see that there is an advent of AI in the banks also. So a lot many changes can be expected. We are not, this is not the situation in the private sector only, but government is also adopting it. So now, according to NASSCOM projections, you can see the, India's AI market is to grow 25 से लेके 35% CAGR till 2027. This is what has been the projection here, according to the India's case. Now we have a lot many things to learn from the past. So I just told you that the revolution has been changed, the revolution has been there many a times. When I talk about industrial revolution, this was there. Now at that particular time also, the displacement effect, was seen. People were, had lost their job also at that particular period of time, because people were not ready to, to adopt the skills, to learn the skills. Similar is the case today also. So if we, if the youth matches their skills with the requirement, of course they'll be able to make, to improve much and contribute much. But if they will not, they will become a victim of your displacement effect. So each industrial revolution saw a labor substitution, economic dislocation, and rising inequality. And that is called what? Your angel's pause, which says that productivity has, rises, but wages remain stagnant. Now example can be taken here, your coal mining layoffs during the energy transition in the US. This can be an example here. Okay. Now about the revolution and ripples, according to age, in the AI age. So it says that India's labor challenge, so it includes what? Your India needs 7.85 million non-farm jobs per year till 2030. According to Economic Survey 2023-24. Similarly, it also focuses on this thing that IT and BPO jobs are highly automation prone, and consumption, we can assume that consumption dropped due to unemployment. That is a macroeconomic threat. That is what has been specifically mentioned about the labor challenges that we have. Similarly, we have complacency is costly, uncertainty demands action. So you can assume here that AI ka jo effect hai, may not be fully known, but the cost of ignoring it, worst cases scenarios, is too high. So we need to know that, how we can plan it in tomorrow. Now specifically quoting the Alan Greenspan, so it says that uncertainty is not the same as risk. It involves unknown probabilities also and outcomes with the tremendous consequences also. So no one knows. Uncertainty doesn't, is not exactly a negative word. No one knows that uncertainty can come with a positive sense also. So we cannot just assume that it will come. It will for sure come with the negativities also only. Of course, we can assume that, anything can happen tomorrow when, there is a lot of uncertainty that is here. Now we'll talk about the breakthroughs is unequal to practicality. That is what has been mentioned. Breakthroughs are just not equivalent to practicality. When I talk about breakthroughs, so it specifically says that a technological leap solved the unsolved problems. It revolutionized the, industries, current AI that is there. So it's a breakthrough stage where when I talk about your LLMs, ठीक है, so ये क्या करते हैं? They are acting as a competitive exams. Now when I talk about practicality, so this is feasible, cost effective, scalable, and widely adopted. Now when I talk about current AI, so that is not fully practical because it lacks in the mass market utility like GPT writing, original research, or fully autonomous cars. This is what has been specifically, mentioned in the survey. Now it is assumed, it is specifically mentioned here that the, the AI that we are talking about, it still is in its practical, in its experimental form. We cannot assume this thing, that it is fully, working. we are practicing it in a lot many ways. We are practicing it in a lot many ways. So you can see that we are still on exploratory phase, which are delivering the impressive demos but limited practical output. For example, you can see here that self-driving cars, they are technologically possible, but social, ethical as well as cost hurdles remain there. Similarly, we have chatbots also. So they can mimic the conversation, but they are fail on a nuance and human empathy, especially in the complex service scenarios. This is what has been said here. Now, what is industry's bet on AI adoption? So you can see here that the industry hopes broad exposure that will lead to bottom-up innovation by users, but still AI needs significant human intervention to make sense of outputs or verify the correctiveness. So when, even when I talk about ChatGPT or, your other DeepSeek is there, DeepSeek AI, and rest of the tools are also there. Until or unless you give it a proper prompt, it will never give you correct data. That has been, mentioned in a lot of reports, and that is specifically, that each and every human being knows. So it never gives you correct data. Of course, you have to, tell it once or twice. And of course, you cannot just rely on ChatGPT only. You cannot just rely on DeepSeek only. So you have to recheck it. You have to, check it from the other sources also to just making sure that the data that it has given us is correct or not. So you cannot just entirely rely on it. To bring the output, of course, humans should be there to bring, to put inputs there. So you can see there is, there comes the use of skills, specifically talking about the AI. And whosoever person learns it can win the future skills. So each and every individual is needed to put inputs first to, expect the output from the, AI that is expected. So you can see the situation here. Now, when I talk about generative AI models, so they're not concerned with the truth. Of course, when I talk about who often, hallucinate, it often hallucinate, generating factually incorrect but plausible sounding answer. Now we are talking about the skill users. So they must guide, interrupt as well as, interpret as well as to correct, AI. Over-reliance on AI without understanding its limitations can result in errors, inefficiencies as well as misinformation also. So we cannot entirely rely on it. Of course, you should have knowledge, prior knowledge first, and you need to recheck with the, true resources also, just to make sure that whatever, your AI resource has given to you is correct in a way. Now, next we have is reliability matters more in the real world use. So you can see here that in personal AI usage like chatbots and autocorrect, users can often support and correct errors. But in the real world deployment, even one error can have a severe consequences. For example, a self-driving car has no margin for error in identifying a pedestrian. Similarly, when I talk about the, an AI hiring tool, it has amplified gender bias despite corrections. Predictive policing reinforced racial bias due to the skewed data. That is what has been seen here. Now we'll see the accountability gaps that are there in AI systems. So you can see that traditional liability frameworks don't easily apply to the AI. As humans more rely on AI to make decisions, your psychological distance is created. Your psychological distance is created. You will not be able to think by yourself because you are entirely relied on what? You are entirely relied on AI. Even when you want to write a letter, even when you want to write an application, even when you want to learn if, I'm using correct English or not, even when you want to learn whatever is going on in economy, you're using ChatGPT, you're using, AI tool. So that will not allow you to think by yourself. That will not allow you to use your own brain, to use your own skills. That will make you entirely dependent on another thing, and that will make you worse tomorrow. What is the, how you will be known as human asset then, when you are not using your own creativity? Of course, human creativity can never be matched with the AI. AI will give you results what has been exactly prompted into it, but humans think in another way. Of course, we have not to forget, we need not to forget that computers, are made, humans have made the computers, not computers have made the human beings. Similarly, humans have made AI, AI has not made humans. It is the creativity, it is the mindset, it is the, you can say next level of thinking of human only that ChatGPT, or I would say AI, has taken birth. Now, we cannot give it supreme powers that it, you can say, overcome or, suppress the humans. Because whatever is the creativity is there in the human mind, it can never be replaced by any of the AI or any of the computers. Now, it will create what? Less personal responsibility, more blame towards the shifting of the, more blame will get shifted towards the algorithm. Now, ethical dilemma is, accountable here. So you can see who is accountable when AI makes a wrong decision. The AI, the developer, the data scientist, the manager who deployed it. And this vacuum increases the stakes for liability, AI liability, because AI, unlike humans, can't be held morally accountable. This is what has been mentioned here. So we need to take care of these many things. Now, from AI labs to reliable products. So Arvind Narayan and Sayesh Kapoor argue that current large language models aren't reliable enough for the critical deployment. Now, AI must shift towards the software engineering principles which ensure predictability, error handling, as well as testing and debugging also, which has been said here. Okay. Now we'll talk about the infrastructure, the invisible enabler. So according to Carlota Perez, each tech revolution needs enabling infrastructure. For example, when I talk about, industrial revolution, canals and turnpikes highly help there. When I talk about roads and highways, it is highly helping in bringing automotive age. Okay. Electric, mass electrification, when we thought of, making electricity available in each and every house, power grids were there. Similarly, when I talk about internet age, it is the age of internet. Today we are living in an internet age. But what has helped? Telecom as well as computing infrastructure. So infrastructure plays a huge important role. If we want to see the tomorrow of AI, we need to put a lot of emphasis on the infrastructure specifically. Now you can see that unlike the previous revolutions, AI foundation is both physical as well as intangible also. Intangible as in, which we cannot be touched, which cannot be touched. Only you can see it, only you can feel it. Now, the physical needs that are data centers, semiconductor supply, high-speed internet, power-hungry compute clusters, and intangible, but it is essential also. So it includes your clean, unbiased label data, human expertise in data curation, ethical standards, as well as organizational capacity. Now we'll talk about the slow infrastructure that is equivalent to slower labor displacement also. Because infrastructure creation takes time, mass adoption of AI will also be gradual. ठीक है, अगर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ही स्लो होगा तो वी कैन नॉट एक्सपेक्ट कि लोग जो है वो फटाफट से जो AI है उसका अडॉप्शन कर ले. ऑफ कोर्स दोज बोथ हैव डायरेक्ट you can say relation with each other. If infrastructure is increased, of course the adoption will also be increased. If infrastructure is going at a slow pace, of course the adoption will also be at a slow pace only. So until the full ecosystem is ready, AI's adaptability to displace the natural, the labor is naturally limited in nature. Now we'll talk about scaling AI is equivalent to resource drain or not. So you can see that modern AI, which is a massive resource hog, it has a training cost from $930 for early models to $191 million plus Gemini Ultra. Now when I talk about synthetic data, so cheaper but flawed, risk of model collapse is there. Energy use, AI data centers may soon use as much of electricity as India. Now when I talk about water use, so over 1 billion liters per day for cooling is required. Land and minerals. So pressure on scarce resources there, which has a risk of bidding wars, which is specifically mentioned here. Now when I talk about economic viability, is it a bottleneck? So you can see the case here that no amount of investment can force the mass adoption unless the technology makes economic sense. So you can see to scale the responsibly, AI must use less of the energy, water and land, avoid distorting of the houses, food and energy markets, and it has to try its best to deliver value not just to firms but to the society also. So it has to go with the both of the things. Now when I talk about India, so challenges and a window of opportunity, we'll see both of the things. So why India must act now? Because it has still time to prepare before the large scale AI shocks come. But we need to ensure that we are upskilling our workforce. Okay, we are bringing skills in our workforce, create a social protection mechanism, and to build situational adaptability to guide AI and not just to react it. We need to adapt it also. Now, why there are reasons of optimism? Because we have large, young your workforce, which is your demographic dividend, demographic dividend, strong services sector we have, and we have potential for the labor augmenting use of AI, not just a labor replacing only. Now when I talk about tech and labor, so more friends than foes, which is specifically mentioned here. So historically, automation didn't kill jobs. It redefined and often grew them. Okay, this is what has been seen, and this is what we have learned from the past itself. So according to base in 2018, textile, steel and auto industries in the US saw job and wage growth for decades after automation. Now your robot adoption led to fewer routine jobs, but also created new tasks, especially in the developing countries. Now in India, only 10 jobs per your 10,000 in manufacturing were displaced by robots, and mainly in the automobiles. So you can see when we have displacement, we can expect more of the changes also here. Now when I talk about AI and white collar work, which is an augmenting story. So AI doesn't replace workers, but it boosts them. It boosts the new work for them. So now you can see that AI automation in Europe increases the high skill job shares by 3.1% to 6.6%. Now generative AI in customer services is plus 14% productivity, plus 34% of productivity in new as well as lower skill jobs, what has been seen here. Now we have tools like your Cogito. It offers real-time coaching to agents, better problems resolution as well as higher customer satisfaction can also be seen. Now human AI teams will be equivalent to what? Your super powered research. So you can see in complex domains like your scientific research, AI is the one which is able to boost the productivity without replacing human intellectual. This is what has been seen here. Now we have few examples. For example, your designing experiments, your literature reviews, generative clean code, as well as your checking of the errors also. Now researchers can do more faster as well as better. So without replacing them, we can expect the better productivity here. Now AI as a tool and not a threat. So it is said that AI can be used as a tool and not a threat also. So the arc of technological history doesn't blend towards replacing humans by the machines, of course. So even leading AI firms agree that they want to build great tools in the hands of people, and Google CEO itself says that use of AI to handle grunt work, freeing up the engineers to focus on the high value tasks. This is what has been specifically mentioned here. Now what only humans can do is they can just focus on the accountability, they can think critically, they can do the subjective reasoning, as well as your cognizance of the consequences can also be done by the human only, because I've already told you that what humans can contribute cannot be contributed by the AI itself. So it is very important that humans must know the skills so that they can contribute towards the input, so that they can expect better output from the AI. Now we'll talk about the service economy is, when we add it with the young demographic, that is called a unique advantage, and India is the one which has this unique advantage. So India's service-driven economy and youthful workforce are fertile grounds for the AI-driven productivity growth. When I talk about youth and high-skilled worker, they are best suited to adapt the AI-led changes. This is what has been specifically mentioned here. Now, skilling is the cornerstone of the human-centric AI. Now, every tech revolution raised the bar of the basic skills. Now, from machine handling to the coding and data, that was a case of yesterday. Now, what we have, now we are towards what? We are now towards AI. Okay, this is what the revolution that is made every time. Now in the AI era, we must build the critical thinking, we must build the creativity, we must be specialized in the domain knowledge as well as adaptability and soft skills also, and this can be entirely done by human only. Okay, human assets are the one which can do it. Now labor displacement versus the restatement effect. So displacement happen only if the demand is saturated, but we have high this in demand. Now, but in unmet demand market, machines plus humans is equal to more jobs. Now, new tech creates what? Reinstatement task. So jobs that machines can't do well, but humans can do it. So this is what has been mentioned here, that less of the displacement effect can be seen because we have many requirement also here. We have to also think about the requirement case. So since we have a lot of requirement, we can expect the you can say your bad consequences less. The future is equals to augmented intelligence. So why did unemployment rise in 20th century despite massive automation? Because new tech created new type of work. And that is the reason I told you, then when there is a new type of work, we need to adopt that, because that is a future. Similarly, when we are watching that we have a new type of skill tomorrow, youth needs to adopt that, youth needs to learn that, so that the youth can become more of the employer and it can contribute more. Now you can see the coming wave of augmented intelligence is equals to human plus machine teams, improving the productivity as well as job satisfaction also. Now new types of jobs from the AI spillover effects will remain, will emerge once tech becomes practical in situation. Now the policy imperative, a tripartite compact. So skilling plus inclusion is equals to what? Your broad based prospect, your prosperity, which is seen here. Now it is also mentioned that policymakers plus academia plus private sector must contribute towards each and everything about the human assets also, about the human capital also, towards infrastructure also, so that the collaboration can bring better results. It can become more effective as well as efficient also. So you can see the raise of the quality of human capital, ensure inclusive productivity gains, and prevent AI-led oligopoly-driven concentration of wealth. Now we have AI, which is impressive yet still nascent. So though AI has become a long way, but still it is not universally adopted as a PC or internet. We have tech challenges with it, we have cost hurdles with it, but of course forecasts of mass displacements may be overstated, but India can't afford the complicancy which has been mentioned here. Now, is AI a solution in research of a problem? So innovation often precedes problem, it reflects a human ambition. But when I talk about tech, so it carries the potential for human disruption. Its value must be judged in terms of both benefits also and along with the negatives also. We cannot just say that AI is there for the job displacement only, it is there with the negative effects only. Of course we have positives as well as negatives also. Now impact already underway even before the full adoption. So you can see here that labor markets are already shifting in the anticipation of a future dominated by AI. Now these shifts can impact workers' mental as well as economic well-being also. Now we have public sectors also which must stay vigilant and responsive and not dismiss the concerns as well as the exaggerated. Now India's dual strategy, build and protect. So you can see that when I talk about capacity building and institutional reforms, both are very crucial in manner. We need to adopt, we need to create social safety nets for the displaced workers, and we also need to update regulatory frameworks for innovation, accountability as well as transparency also. Now when I talk about corporate sector, so they must act responsibly. India का जो large population है, when we add it with the low per capita income, it makes AI risk especially acute. So when I talk about implementing it insensitively, so we'll have pressure on the fiscal policies also. They will rise, debt will rise, government may resort to taxing AI-induced profits also. This is a suggestion by the IMF, and growth potentially could suffer. So we need to avoid it. A narrow window and a shared responsibility. So use of the AI transition phase wisely to build such institutions before the shock hits. So what is needed? Government, private as well as academia, we need to collaborate. We are in need of the collaboration of these three so that we can bring better results. Now working together will ensure what? It will distribute AI gains widely, and it will also enable the inclusive growth. Now we have few of the questions that are associated here. So you can see that Dash is, has initiated as arms race in AI as between 2022-24. Many companies, including big tech firms, have scrambled to capitalize on the demand for AI. Is it OpenAI, Anthropic, DeepMind, chatbot, even machine learning? So when you see, when you read the survey by itself, you'll find it there that OpenAI is the correct answer. Now, number of AI patents granted globally increased dash to just over 62,000 between 2021 से लेके 2026. So we have correct answer, which is 62.7%. ठीक है, so C is the correct answer. ठीक है. Now that is it about a economic survey. We have completed entire 13 chapters, and that too in a comprehensive way. I hope you are crystal clear with each and everything, and that is my request to all of the people to read the chapter by yourself also, so that whenever if a question is asked on paper, you will be able to answer it. So thorough reading is very, very necessary. I've decoded the entire chapter, but you also need to go it by yourself also. So just to make ensure that whatever you are reading, just it remains there in your mind. So all right, I take leave here. And I still say that if you have any of the doubt related to chapter, related to the survey, entire survey, you can just pin that in the comment section, and you can just reach out the team, and I'll ensure that your doubt is crystal clear. So all right, thank you so much for joining the this particular series. This was very, very I would say joyful for me also to record the entire survey to you people, for you people, and I hope you've liked it in the same way. So thank you so much for joining. Take care and keep revising.